Listen to me carefully. What if the next move of God in your life is not loud? What if there will be no announcement, no warning, no applause? What if God is about to elevate you quietly, and the only thing He is asking from you right now is this? Don't explain, don't defend, don't announce, just obey. If you've been feeling hidden, misunderstood, or even overlooked, this message is for you. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may explain everything you're walking through right now. There are seasons in life when God works loudly. Everyone sees it, everyone celebrates it, everyone talks about it. But then there are seasons when God works silently. No applause, no confirmation from people, no visible progress. And this is where many people get discouraged. You pray, you obey, you stay faithful, but it feels like nothing is happening. Let me tell you something powerful today. Silence does not mean absence. Hidden does not mean forgotten. Quiet does not mean weak. In fact, some of God's greatest elevations happen without noise. You see, when God elevates you quietly, He is protecting you, He is preparing you, He is positioning you, and most importantly, He is teaching you to walk by obedience, not by explanation. Right now, God is asking you to trust Him without defending yourself to people, to move without needing approval, to obey without needing applause. And I know that's not easy, because everything in you wants to explain, to clarify, to prove you're right. But God is saying, let me do the explaining, you just obey. Let me say this clearly. When God elevates you quietly, it's because you're not ready for noise yet, but you are ready for authority. Noise attracts attention. Authority attracts alignment. And God cares more about alignment than attention. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He didn't rise with celebration. He rose through silence, through prison, through waiting. No one clapped when Joseph was faithful in prison. No one saw him interpret dreams late at night. No one celebrated his obedience. But God was watching, and one quiet morning, God elevated him in a single day. Listen to me. God does not announce what He is preparing. He reveals it when it's ready. That's why your season feels quiet. That's why people don't understand you. That's why your obedience feels unseen. God is doing something behind the curtain. And if He allowed noise right now, people would interfere, people would distract, people would delay what He's building. So God keeps it silent. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Let me be very direct with you now. Every time you feel the urge to explain yourself, ask yourself this question. Did God ask me to explain, or did He ask me to obey? Because explanation often comes from fear. Fear of misunderstanding, fear of rejection, fear of losing control. But obedience comes from trust. You don't need to explain why you're changing. You don't need to explain why you're moving differently. You don't need to explain why you're walking away from certain people. God didn't explain to Noah why he needed an ark. He just said, build. God didn't explain to Abraham every detail. He just said, go. And here's the truth many people don't like to hear. People who need explanations are not assigned to your next level. If they were meant to walk with you, they wouldn't need convincing. So stop exhausting yourself trying to explain obedience to people who don't hear God's voice for your life. Take a breath. You don't owe everyone access to your calling. You don't owe everyone clarity about your direction. You don't owe everyone your energy. God understands you. That's enough. Let's be honest for a moment. Quiet obedience hurts. It hurts when people misunderstand you. It hurts when they assume. The worst, it hurts when you're doing the right thing but receiving no validation. But hear me, carefully. Quiet obedience builds deep roots. Trees that grow fast fall easily, but trees that grow quietly, they last. Right now, God is strengthening your character. He's building discipline in you. He's removing the need for approval. Because where He's taking you, you won't have time to explain yourself. You'll need clarity, authority, confidence, and those things are developed in silence. If you're feeling lonely in obedience, if it feels heavy, if it feels unfair, that's a sign you're growing. Stay there. Don't rush the process. God never wastes quiet seasons. Let me give you some signs so you know this message is not by accident. You feel a strong pull to obey, even when it doesn't make sense. You're becoming more selective with your words and energy. You're less interested in proving yourself. You feel a separation happening without hatred, without drama. That's elevation. You're not losing people. You're being lifted above distractions. Another sign, things are falling into place quietly. Doors are opening without force. Opportunities are finding you. No announcement, no hype, just alignment. That's God. And listen to this carefully. When God elevates you quietly, He makes sure no one can take credit for only Him. Let me speak life into you right now. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are being positioned. Stay obedient when no one is clapping. Stay faithful when no one understands. Stay humble when no one notices, because the elevation God is preparing will not need explanation. People will look at your life and say, only God could have done this. And that's the goal. So let go of the need to explain. Let go of the fear of misunderstanding. Let go of the pressure to perform. Your job is simple. Listen, trust, obey. God will handle the rest. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes if you can. Ask yourself, where is God asking me to obey without explaining? That's your next step. Pray quietly. Move wisely. Stay grounded. And remember, quiet obedience leads to undeniable elevation. If this message spoke to you, type "I will obey" in the comments. Share this with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to Cho Motivation, because this is only the beginning of what God is revealing. Stay faithful, stay obedient, stay ready. God is about to elevate you. Quietly, there are moments in life when it feels like nothing is happening, even though you are praying, believing, and doing everything you know to do. You look around and see others being recognized, promoted, celebrated, while your own life feels quiet, hidden, and still. In those moments, it is easy to think God has forgotten you. But the truth is much deeper than that. God often elevates in silence before he ever elevates in public. What feels like waiting is actually preparation. What feels like being overlooked is often God working privately where no one else can interfere. When God plans to lift someone higher, he first works on their foundation. Public elevation without private preparation is dangerous. If God placed you on a visible platform before your character was ready, the pressure would crush you. So he takes you into quiet places where pride is removed, patience is built, and obedience is tested. In silence, God teaches you how to trust him without applause. He trains your heart to depend on his voice instead of people's opinions. This hidden work is not punishment, it is protection. Think about how seeds grow. A seed does not make noise underground. No one claps when roots are forming. Yet that unseen process determines how strong the tree will be later. In the same way, God allows you to grow where no one sees you. He lets your faith deepen without distraction. He strengthens your spiritual roots so that when the winds of responsibility, success, and attention come, you will not be shaken. Silence is not empty. It is full of purpose. Many people want public elevation because they want validation, but God is more concerned with transformation. He is shaping your mindset, your discipline, and your response to pressure. In quiet seasons, you learn how to remain faithful when there is no reward. You learn how to obey when there is no recognition. That kind of faith is rare, and God honors it. What you do consistently in secret becomes the reason you can stand confidently in public later. The silence also filters people. When there is no spotlight, only the right motives remain. God removes distractions, unhealthy attachments, and voices that would confuse your direction. He narrows your focus so you can hear him clearly. This is why silence often feels lonely. It is not because God has left you, but because he is drawing you closer. He is teaching you to walk with him, not with the crowd. Public elevation comes suddenly, but it is never sudden to God. When the time is right, he opens doors no one can close. He shifts positions without explanation. He lifts you in ways that cannot be denied. But before that moment, there is always a season where God works quietly, patiently, and deeply. That season is sacred. It is where identity is formed and confidence is anchored in God, not in people. If your life feels quiet right now, don't rush it. Don't compare your process to someone else's outcome. Trust that God knows exactly what he is doing. The silence is shaping you for what is coming. And when God finally elevates you in public, you will not need to announce it. Your life will speak for itself. And people will see that what God built in silence is strong enough to stand in the open. There is something deep inside human nature that wants to be understood, accepted, and validated. When people question your decisions, misunderstand your silence, or judge your obedience, the natural response is to explain yourself. You want them to know your intentions. You want to clear your name. You want to feel justified. But in seasons of divine elevation, God often calls you to do the opposite. He asks you to obey without explaining, to move without defending, and to trust him enough to let your actions speak in time. Explanation often comes from fear. Fear of being misjudged. Fear of losing relationships. Fear of being seen as wrong. Obedience, however, comes from trust. When God gives you direction, he does not require you to convince people before you move. He requires you to believe. The moment you feel pressure to explain yourself to everyone is often the moment your focus shifts from God's voice to people's opinions. And that shift weakens spiritual clarity. Many times God gives you instructions that only make sense to you because you are the one who heard him. Others are not meant to understand your calling, your timing, or your decisions. When you try to explain what God is doing in your life to people who cannot hear his voice for you, you end up draining your energy and inviting unnecessary confusion. Obedience does not need a committee. Faith does not require approval. Look at the pattern throughout Scripture. Noah did not explain the ark to mockers every day. He simply built. Abraham did not stop to convince everyone why he was leaving. He packed and went. Even Jesus remained silent before certain accusations because explanation would not have changed hardened hearts. Silence in obedience is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is confidence that God will justify you in his time over explaining often delays obedience. While you are busy clarifying your intentions, you miss the moment to act. God's instructions are time sensitive. Partial obedience, delayed obedience, or obedience mixed with fear still carries consequences. When God speaks, the safest place is immediate obedience, even when it costs your reputation in the short term. God can restore reputation, but missed obedience is harder to recover. There is also a spiritual danger in explaining too much. The more you talk, the more you expose something that is still fragile. Vision shared too early can be damaged by doubt, jealousy, or misunderstanding. God sometimes tells you to move quietly because what he is building in you needs protection. Silence guards the work of God until it becomes strong enough to stand on its own. Obedience without explanation trains your heart to rely on God as your defender. It teaches you patience and humility. You learn to rest knowing that if God called you, he will also cover you. You do not have to chase people's understanding. You do not have to prove your worth. God sees your obedience, and that is what matters most. In time, the results of obedience will speak louder than any explanation ever could. People may not understand your silence now, but they will recognize the fruit later. When God brings elevation, it will be clear that your steps were guided, not random. Until then, your role is simple. Listen carefully, move faithfully, and let God do the explaining. Quiet seasons are some of the most uncomfortable seasons you will ever walk through, not because God is absent, but because everything that once made you feel secure is stripped away. There is no applause to motivate you, no visible progress to reassure you, and no clear evidence that your obedience is working. Yet these seasons are not wasted, they are essential. Quiet seasons build strong roots that loud success could never create. When life slows down and the noise fades, you begin to see what truly supports you. Distractions fall away. External validation disappears. What remains is your relationship with God and the condition of your heart. In silence, you are forced to confront impatience, pride, fear, and doubt. God uses this stillness to strengthen you from the inside out. He is not just preparing you for blessings, he is preparing you to handle them. Strong roots are formed underground, unseen by anyone. The deeper the roots, the taller the tree can grow without falling. In the same way, quiet seasons deepen your faith, your discipline, and your endurance. You learn how to keep showing up when there is no reward. You learn how to stay consistent when no one is watching. That kind of strength cannot be developed in moments of recognition. It can only be built in hidden places. Silence also teaches you how to listen. When everything is loud, God's voice can get crowded out by opinions, expectations, and pressure. In quiet seasons, his voice becomes clearer. You begin to recognize his guidance not through dramatic signs, but through peace, conviction, and inner direction. This sensitivity is critical because higher levels of responsibility require sharper spiritual awareness. God is training you to hear him clearly before he trusts you with more. Another purpose of quiet seasons is emotional maturity. When affirmation is removed, your motives are revealed. Are you serving because you love God or because you love being seen? Are you obedient because it feels good or because it is right? These questions are answered in silence. God allows these seasons to refine your motives so that success does not corrupt your heart later. Quiet seasons also build resilience. When you have learned to endure loneliness, waiting, and misunderstanding, you become harder to break. Future challenges will not shake you as easily because you have already survived seasons where nothing made sense. You learn that your stability comes from God, not from circumstance. This inner strength becomes a quiet confidence that no one can take from you. It is important to understand that quiet seasons are not permanent, but they are necessary. They are the preparation stage, not the final destination. God never builds a strong structure on a weak foundation. He takes his time with what he values. If you feel hidden right now, it may be because God is strengthening you in ways you cannot yet see. Do not rush to escape the silence. Do not compare your unseen growth with someone else's visible success. What God is building in you will last. And when the season changes and your life becomes more visible, the strength you gained in quiet places will allow you to stand firm. The roots formed in silence will hold you steady when the world finally sees what God has been growing all along. Many people think that if something is truly from God, it should be seen, celebrated, and recognized immediately. But in reality, God often hides what he values most until the right time. Protection is one of the main reasons God keeps certain seasons quiet. When something is exposed too early, it becomes vulnerable. Attention attracts opinions, jealousy, comparison, and interference. So before God allows visibility, he provides covering. When God begins a new work in your life, it is often fragile at first. Your faith is growing, your confidence is developing, and your direction is becoming clear, but it is not yet strong enough to withstand outside pressure. If everyone had access to what God is forming in you, doubt and negativity could weaken it. That is why God keeps some callings hidden. Silence becomes a shield. Premature attention can be dangerous. Not everyone who claps for you is for you. Some people admire, some compete, and some quietly resent. God sees what you cannot see. He knows who would try to distract you, discourage you, or subtly pull you off course. So he limits exposure, not because you are unworthy, but because you are valuable. What is precious is protected. This is why you may feel like your progress is unnoticed. You may wonder why others are being recognized while you are overlooked. But what feels like delay is often divine wisdom. God is preventing you from being pulled into conversations, comparisons, and conflicts that would drain your energy. He is giving you space to grow without pressure. Silence gives you room to become who you need to be. Protection also involves timing. God knows when you are emotionally and spiritually ready to handle visibility. Attention magnifies everything. It magnifies strength, but it also magnifies weakness. God waits until your identity is rooted in him, not in applause. If your confidence depends on people's approval, public attention will control you. So God first teaches you how to stand firm without recognition. There is also protection from self-sabotage. Sometimes we are not ready to carry what we are asking for. If God gave you everything at once, you might rush ahead of his plan. Quiet seasons slow you down and teach patience. They help you mature before momentum arrives. God protects you from moving too fast and missing important lessons. Think of how valuable things are handled. Jewels are stored securely. Seeds are buried. Babies are kept safe until they are strong enough to face the world. In the same way, God hides you for a season. Not to keep you small, but to keep you safe. Not to deny you, but to prepare you. If your life feels hidden right now, do not interpret it as rejection. It is divine protection. God is guarding your calling, your peace, and your future. He is making sure that when you step into the next level, you are not distracted, damaged, or destroyed by premature exposure. One day the covering will lift. When it does, you will realize that the silence was necessary. You will thank God for the seasons when no one saw you, because those were the seasons that kept you strong. Until then, trust the process. God knows exactly when to reveal what he has carefully protected. One of the clearest signs that promotion is approaching is separation. This is the part of the process that confuses many people because it often feels like loss. Relationships change, conversations feel different, and places that once felt comfortable no longer fit. You may not be fighting with anyone. There may be no drama, no betrayal, no clear reason. Yet something is shifting. This is not accidental. Separation is often God's way of lifting you to a new level. When God prepares to elevate you, he begins to remove what cannot go with you. Not everything that is good is meant to be permanent. Some people are assigned to a season, not a lifetime. If everyone from your past followed you into your future growth would be impossible. Certain environments, habits, and relationships would pull you back into old patterns. So God gently creates distance. This separation is rarely loud. It happens quietly. Conversations become shorter. Invitations stop coming. Interests change. You find yourself craving solitude more than company. At first, this can feel lonely and painful. You may wonder if you did something wrong, but often nothing is wrong. God is simply rearranging your surroundings to match where he is taking you. Separation protects your focus. Distractions multiply when elevation is near. Voices compete for your attention. Old expectations try to keep you small. God knows that clarity is essential at higher levels, so he reduces noise. He removes influences that would confuse your direction. What feels like isolation is actually alignment. This process also reveals who is truly connected to you and who is only connected to convenience, comfort, or familiarity. When your life begins to shift, some people naturally fall away because they cannot relate to the new version of you. They are not bad people. They are just not assigned to where you are going. Understanding this brings peace and prevents bitterness. Separation also strengthens your dependence on God. When people step back, God steps closer. You learn how to seek Him for guidance instead of leaning on others for validation. This builds spiritual maturity and confidence. You become less reactive and more grounded. God becomes your primary source, not people. It is important not to fight separation. Trying to hold on to everything will only delay the process. If God is removing something, it is because it no longer serves your future. Trust that what leaves is making room for what belongs. New connections will come at the right time. People who understand your calling and support your growth. Promotion requires a different environment. New levels require new habits, new mindsets, and new boundaries. Separation creates space for these changes to take root. Without it, you would carry old limitations into new opportunities. If you feel like you are losing people or parts of your old life, do not panic. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. God is lifting you above distractions, not away from love. When the elevation comes, you will see clearly why certain things could not come with you. And you will walk into the next season lighter, clearer, and stronger than before. There comes a point in the journey where words lose their power and results begin to speak. This is the stage God is preparing you for. When God elevates you, it will not require arguments, defenses, or explanations. The work He does in your life will be so clear, so evident, that no one will be able to question its source. This is why He teaches you patience now. He is training you to trust that truth does not need noise to be recognized. Many people try to explain their potential before it is visible. They talk about what they are going to become, what God has promised, and where they are headed. But God's way is different. He prefers to reveal, not advertise. When something is truly from Him, it carries weight. It carries authority. It stands on its own. That is why God often keeps you quiet until the fruit appears. Once it does, explanations become unnecessary. When elevation comes from God, it settles every doubt without conversation. People may have misunderstood you in the past. They may have questioned your decisions or judged your silence. But when God moves, clarity follows. Doors open that you did not force. Opportunities align without manipulation. Favor shows up without campaigning. At that point, no one needs to be convinced. The evidence is undeniable. This is also why God allows seasons where you are misjudged. It humbles you. It teaches you not to rely on people's opinions for identity. If you can remain steady when others misunderstand you, you will be grounded when others finally applaud you. God makes sure that your confidence is rooted in Him before He allows public recognition. Otherwise, success would control you instead of confirming you. Another reason no explanation will be needed is because God removes human fingerprints from your elevation. When you manipulate outcomes, people credit strategy. When God moves, people recognize grace. The elevation God brings cannot be traced to favoritism, connections, or self-promotion. It will be clear that it came from above. That is why God delays visibility until the process is complete. When the time comes, those who doubted you will not need clarification. They will see the consistency, the growth, and the transformation. The quiet obedience, the unseen discipline, and the faithful waiting will finally be visible. Your life will answer questions you never spoke. Your peace will explain decisions you never defended. This is why God asked you to stop explaining now. Explanation keeps you tied to people's opinions. Obedience frees you to move with God. Every time you choose silence over self-defense, you are practicing trust. You are declaring without words that God is your vindicator. In the end, elevation from God always speaks for itself. It brings peace, not pressure. It brings clarity, not confusion. It brings alignment, not competition. And when it arrives, you will look back and realize that every quiet step mattered. So stay faithful, stay consistent, stay obedient. The day is coming when your life will say everything you never needed to explain. And in that moment, it will be clear to everyone that only God could have done this. As you come to the end of this message, take a moment and breathe. Look back at the journey you are on and realize that nothing about it has been random. The quiet, the waiting, the misunderstanding, the separation, and the obedience that no one applauded, all of it has been shaping you. God has been working even when you could not see results. What felt slow was intentional. What felt hidden was protection. What felt lonely was preparation. You don't need to rush your season. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to convince anyone of what God has spoken over your life. If God called you, He will also carry you. Your responsibility has never been to explain yourself to people, but to remain faithful to God. Obedience in silence always leads to elevation in the right time. Trust that God knows when to reveal what He has been building. Trust that He sees your quiet faith, your private prayers, and your unseen discipline. The promotion that comes from him will not confuse anyone. It will be clear, undeniable, and peaceful. When it arrives, it will answer every question without a single word from you. Until that day, walk calmly, move wisely, stay humble, keep listening, and keep obeying. Let God handle the timing, the visibility, and the vindication. Your life is about to speak louder than any explanation ever could. And when God elevates you, you will know, this was not my doing. This was the hand of God.